President Joe Biden gave a speech at a college. What a foolish decision to make, right?
Yeah, of course. All this Hamas, Palestine stuff. Oof. Oof.
So let's see what the majority report has to say. Okay, I'm sure they'll enlighten us with some nuggets of wisdom on this subject.
Was the president of Morehouse College had said, if there's any type of protest at our commencement address, when Joe Biden is scheduled to speak, we're just going to close it down because we don't want cops coming in here. Apparently, there was a decent number of people who stood up and turned their back, but were rather quiet about it. Here is the Morehouse College valedictorian, D'Angelo Fletcher. You can see Biden right in the bottom right of the screen.
Looking great.
Yeah. Clapping for Fletcher's call for a ceasefire.
What is going on with Joe Biden? Like,
why is he clapping for a ceasefire?
No, look at his face. What is happening there? It's like, he looks like he's like trying to not crap his pants. Doesn't it? That's the face you make when you're like, oh, I gotta go, but I can't because I'm the president and I gotta listen to these people talk. Like he looks so pained.
I mean, you make that face for a lot of different things. That's a disgust face. Like if someone at the podium just like laid down a
huge
fart right in your face, you would make that same face. So you can't really, you don't know what's going on here.
I guess. As Biden's gotten older, his face gets squintier and squintier.
Someone could have just given him a copy of this guy's speech and he sees what's coming and he's like, ah,
maybe someone handed him a note that had a picture of like a butt and it had a naked Donald Trump drawn on it or something. He's just like ready to vomit.
It's my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
God, it's just
that guy's got a great voice. Oh my God. So authoritative, right?
Yeah.
A permanent ceasefire. I was like, oh my. As a Morehouse man. I love it.
Permanent ceasefire for Israel.
Yeah, how does a permanent ceasefire work if the other side like attacks you again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
look, call for a ceasefire. Who cares?
Hear the people of this world. Sing the song of righteous justice. Thank you. It is
boy, stunning and brave, very moving, very deep and profound. No.
I mean, with that voice, you can say anything that's deep and profound, right?
Of course, yeah.
I like it.
It is a good voice, but I just, pretty superficial here. Anyway, what's Majority Report going to say about this? Look, Emma's crafting her notes right now, crafting her response.
She's writing down like in giant letters, stunning and brave, and underlining it. Only she means it, like she's sincere.
Oh, okay.
Biden looks like he's in pain there. But here is Biden.
Did you copy Sam Cedar's commentary, Sitch? How dare you?
Listen.
How
just because
dare
Sam
you?
Cedar can point something out, okay, that is correct, doesn't mean that he's wrong, okay? That I can't point it out as well, too, right?
Comes up shortly after and affirms the students' right to peacefully protest. I guess he feels it costs him nothing to applaud the idea that this guy said, call for an immediate ceasefire.
And permanent, which is the key word that Biden actually doesn't agree with. Because immediate, it's like, yeah, we'll do some like a brief restaging and act like we care.
Well, here's Biden, and I have this theory that.
I mean, why didn't he just call for peace in the Middle East? Like, why is he being such a dick? Right?
That's a good point.
Just a ceasefire,
right?
What a prick!
Yes, that's a great point. He's there. That kid's there on the podium. This is a magic wish-granting podium, right? Which is why he's saying these words. And he just calls for a ceasefire instead of calling for a complete peace in the Middle East where all the countries, including Israel and Palestine, can work together in huggy-buggy harmony, right? Come on.
Yeah, look. It's a wish podium. You could have called for an end to world poverty, but
I know.
You got to be a big prick.
What a jerk.
That Biden and the administration, as a political matter, right? I mean, I think like you can't have this level of unfettered, unconditional support that Biden has had through this carnage and not have some type of deep ideological reason and perhaps a bigotry, frankly, that Biden harbors. But as a
Wait, what? So now Sam Cedar is saying that Joe Biden, the president, is racist and bigoted against Palestinians, I guess.
Yeah, look, he doesn't like brown people, okay? He doesn't like those Arabs.
Oh, right.
That's what he's getting at here, obviously.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make sense. You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen that. Considering, Joe Biden needs, the non-white vote to win, and, heavily runs on that, and the fact that, they're trying he's trying to very obviously find some kind of balancing point between the various interest groups of wanting to support Israel, wanting to not support Israel, and he's kind of trying to balance this out with his own party. None of these things scream to me as like, oh, he just hates the brown people.
Why do you make things
also,
so
by the way, a lot of Israelis are brown people too. So
true. Look, you make things way too complicated, Sitch. Just bigotry. That's the answer for everything, okay? Whenever you don't get your way, it's bigotry.
Mm-hmm.
Political matter. I suspect that the Biden administration, and you could see some reporting at this at the beginning of Israel's assault on Gaza, that the Biden people thought like this is going to be a good opportunity for Biden to show that he's in control and can actually make things happen and make progress in terms of foreign policy.
Whoopsie.
And well, I suspect they still believe this, and that they think it's going to.
Did you catch that?
The Tim Pool whoopsie.
She's doing a Tim Pool impersonation.
She always does the whoopsie thing. She's like really, really loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so funny because that's Tim Pool. She's doing Tim Pool is the one that the origin of the whoopsie.
No, she's doing
nemesis.
She's intentionally referencing the Tim Pool whoopsie. I don't know if when they cover Tim Pool, they'll play that sound effect at the start of the clip.
But it's infected her brain. Yeah. She's literally copying Tim Pool.
It's so funny because it just makes me think of Mortal Kombat. But I want to go back to the bigotry thing for a second. It's funny to me that Sam and Emma and all these people, they will bend over backwards to say that the protesters are not anti-Semitic, that they're not bigoted against Jews, right? They're just anti-Zionist.
Yep.
Right. They'll just bend over backwards for that. But then they're like, listen, if you're, not on our side, it's because you're racist.
Yeah, no, that's their only move. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so lowbrow. It's so below the belt. But they do it continually, again and again and again.
I don't know if you know this, Adam, but nothing Sam Cedar does is lowbrow. Okay. Do you see how high his eyebrows are raised at all times?
Yes, yeah. Lowbrow is an expression for low class, but he does have very high eyebrows, so
very high altitude eyebrows.
He does, yeah.
Happen by what is it? Late June? Is it June 20th? Is the debate?
27th.
27th. I think they think that's the timeline. I find it hard to believe that Benny Gantz is saying that he's going to leave the government without some consultation with the Biden administration.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he said 3 weeks puts it into early June, I don't know. But here is Biden sort of implying that too.
But also know, some of you ask, what is democracy? We can't stop wars that break out and break our hearts. In a democracy, we debate and dissent about America's role in the world. I want to say this very clearly. I support peaceful nonviolent protest. Your voices should be heard, and I promise you I hear them. I determined to make my administration look like America. I have more African Americans in high places, including on the court, than any president in American history, because I need the input. What's happening in Gaza and Israel is heartbreaking. Hamas's vicious attack on Israel, killing innocent lives and holding people hostage. I was there 9 days after. Sent pictures of tying a mother and a daughter in a rope, pouring kerosene on them, burning them, and watching as they died. Innocent Palestinians caught in the middle of all this. Men, women, and children killed or displaced in desperate need of water, food, and medicine. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why.
Ah, what a racist. Right?
Sure.
I can't believe Joe Biden would say that these poor people caught in the middle are a humanitarian crisis. I mean, definitely the words of a avowed bigot.
Oh, yeah. That's why he's not doing anything about it.
I mean, if you look at maybe that's why he's such a pained face. He's like this pained face all the time. It's because he's just lying. And he wants to scream that he wants to just, eliminate the non-whites, but he can't. So he's just in constant pain all the time.
Right. Trying to hold it in, trying to hold in his racist epithet that he wants to his racist tirade that he wants to go on for 45 minutes.
Yeah, look, it took them like 20 minutes to prep Joe before he went on stage. He's like, listen, Joe, you cannot start foaming at the mouth talking about how you want to eliminate the non-whites. Right. He's like, come on, man. They're like, no, you can't do it. He's like, fine.
They just give him a...
If you want any ice cream, Joe, you can't be racist, okay? That's how he finally capitulates.
That's it.
I've called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting. Bring the hostages home. And I've been working on a deal as we speak, working around the clock to lead an international effort to get more aid into Gaza, rebuild Gaza. I'm also working around the clock for more than just one ceasefire. I'm working to bring the region together, working to build a lasting, durable peace.
Over the head of the Palestinians.
The question is, and you see what's going on in Israel today,
I mean, he throws a few of these sentences out that he's obviously stumbling over, and what he said is incomprehensible.
He jumbles his words a lot, yeah.
Yeah, about every fifth sentence, you're like, okay, that wasn't a sentence. So, right. No, yeah. Oh, it just seems so obvious.
But listen, he knows how to use the wish podium, okay? He brought out peace in the Middle East, okay?
He did, yeah. Look, he's using it correctly. That other guy, no. What was he thinking?
What after Hamas? What happens then? What happens in Gaza? What rights do the Palestinian people have? I'm working to make sure we finally get a two-state solution, the only solution.
Nope.
For two people to live in peace.
Nope.
Security.
Here, Emma. Nope. Nope. Emma's like, nope. They're on the one-state solution path now, right?
Emma's on the magical, mystical, the Palestinians and Israelis will all live together in harmony and, hug each other while they live in their multicultural, liberal/socialist utopia that none of them want to live in.
Yeah, Emma, you got to travel to the wish podium for that one. I mean, you can't just do that from the Majority Report studio. It's impossible.
You should talk to Sam about installing a wish podium at the Majority Report. That would definitely, save you some time.
Dignity. This is one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world, and there's nothing easy about it. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including my family.
Oh, cool. I don't really care.
Hunter, push the button, Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, his wife is reportedly upset with him, and that's why you see some celebrity videos like Ilana Glazer, who's a wonderful comedian, who did this video saying, Jill, please, think of the mothers in Gaza for Mother's Day and things like that, and talk to your husband, because, I mean, his arrogance about this is astounding to me. The arrogance of, we can impose whatever government we want onto the Palestinian people, and there is never any conversation about what do they want. What do they?
Am I living in a simulation? Wait a minute. I was the person who's advocating for a one-state solution that nobody wants is now criticizing Joe Biden for trying to push a government on them. What is she even referring to? She's saying that the two-state solution is a solution that's what they want. They either want a two-state solution or they want a one state where they get everything. That's what both sides want. Okay, no one is in favor. Some tiny minority of people on both sides, whenever polled, want to live together in a one magical multicultural democratic state. That's not the option.
Are you saying Emma is forcing her beliefs onto the Palestinian people? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And yet somehow she's levying this at Joe Biden. It's so bizarre.
Right.
They want, because they don't deserve rights, apparently.
It's funny coming on the heels of him like
talking about
democracy.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, and even with this stuff with Israel, right? Like, I mean, I want Netanyahu out of power, but it's still the United States trying to put its fingers on the scales in this situation, which is probably for the best. But the reality is that U.S. dominance over this region needs to sunset. And I thought that he understood that with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. But without the United States' backing for Israel, they would actually have to engage with the partners in the region in a way that isn't entirely arrogant and belligerent. It is U.S. support for Israel that is continuing this carnage and this instability.
That's why he...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't you agree with that?
Well, no, you don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be somewhat amicable with the international community as long as they're involved with us. If they're not, then who knows what, right? They might just go in and do a genocide.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting that it's like the framing of this is everything that happens is Israel's fault, right? There's literally she ascribes no responsibility to Hamas. In the first place. Like, those are just, I guess, wild animals that can't control themselves. And Israel has all the free will and consciousness, while the Hamas are just the bigotry of low expectations, right? They just can't control themselves. No responsibility for their actions.
I read it as she's blaming America. She's saying, look, America can control Israel, but...
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
She's saying that America and Israel have some kind of agency and the Hamas people have zero agency. So therefore, any instability that is created by Hamas or other Palestinian actors in the region is not their fault.
But also American aid is enabling the ruthlessness of Israel.
Right.
When it could be completely the opposite.
Right.
Because I'm sure we're putting a lot of pressure on them to avoid collateral damage, right?
Well, that's why their position is so, because she's basically brain broken by the America bad mind virus. Because what you're saying is completely true. America is, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, is pressuring Israel. And they can say it's not pressuring enough to your liking, but America is
collateral damage.
Yes, don't just kill everyone. You have to play as nice as remotely possible. And if America just said, listen, we're going to give you zero aid forever. We're going to pull all relations from Israel. These people are so out of touch with reality. They think that would make Israel behave better and not worse.
That's what I'm saying. Look, they're acting like if we deny them aid, that they're all just going to pull out and go home.
Yeah.
When actually, I mean, they do have nuclear weapons. I mean, they have they have a lot of cards up their sleeves that have not been played here, right?
It's funny. Let's go to this hypothetical. If America said, if Emma became president, she went to the wishing podium and wished herself president, okay? And she's like, listen, we're going to pull out all of our money and all of our support from Israel. Israel can get fucked, okay? Go fuck yourself, Israel, right? And we do that. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Israel's just going to sit there, be like, wow, we have no allies in the Middle East and no one wants to support us? Or do you think that, I don't know, these countries named China, countries named Russia, countries that don't really like America, who have been supporting Iran, they say, we've been supporting Iran, but here's this country called Israel that's got a lot more money, a lot more military technology, and has been working very closely with American intelligence for decades. Maybe we should befriend them so we can get all that information.
Yeah, that's a great point. They already have a relationship with Russia too, who's like no friend of America. So.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, look, other people would jump in.
Yeah, it's just This is this insane, dumb, take that like, oh, all America does all the bad things in the world. And if America just disappeared, everything would just be peace and loving and kind.
Yeah. Look, if they weren't embedded in the international community, it's hard for me to imagine that they wouldn't just take over Gaza and the West Bank immediately.
100%.
Like if all the Democratic allies said, screw Israel, we're done with this, they would take over Gaza and the West Bank immediately. Would they not? I mean, come on.
Yep.
Of course they would. And they would say, look, we have a bigger security threat now. All of our allies have turned their back on us.
Yep. 100%. That's a good
So
point.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to say that if America stopped pressuring them to limit the collateral damage, that things would be better. It's so stupid.
You won't say permanent because they actually do just want to do this through the iron wall, as Avi Shlaim's book has outlined it. That's the only way. It's through force and might and not diplomacy, and that's why Biden will say immediate ceasefire. Because look, this is hurting my poll numbers. But as far as a permanent ceasefire, no, they will always object to that because they think this is solved through force.
And
that's a good point. They just believe in solving through force, not diplomacy, right? Like, unlike Hamas, who wants to solve things through kidnapping and murdering civilians intentionally and raping prisoners, right?
Yeah.
That's a very diplomatic approach to the crisis. Obviously.
Look, I've been listening to leftist videos for too long because I know every response now. It's like they would say Hamas is the oppressed underdog party, and therefore they have to resort to these tactics because it's the only way that they can escape their open air prison, their concentration camp. It's the only option left to them.
Oh,
Their
really?
back was against the wall. This is all they can do. Yeah.
I know, right?
That's what they will say.
Right. Imagine if Hamas had said, we're going to take all this money that we're getting from international aid.
Oh, and fix the place up.
We're going to fix the infrastructure. We're going to crack down to make sure there's no people shooting missiles at Israel. We're going to build more schools, more hospitals. We're going to just try to make our economy really as thriving as possible, right? We have good port access here, and if we do this for a couple of years, it's basically going to put so much international pressure on Israel that they're going to have to lift, any sort of embargo or blockade whatsoever, right?
Well, that's an excellent strategy, Sitch, but that would destroy the entire narrative that it's a concentration camp.
Oh,
you can't do that.
You're right. Yeah, no, instead we have to use all the millions and billions of dollars building bombs and missiles and tunnels underneath all civilian infrastructure so we can attack Israel and then go hee and run behind all the civilian meat shield. Yeah, the brilliant diplomatic strategy there.
And the only way that Israel maintains itself in this way is through force too, which is what a two-state solution is an extension of, by the way. It is racial segregation, and it is not actually feasible in any way. That is part of why the Oslo Accords failed, is because there is no just solution. There's no actually viable solution to this that doesn't involve land back, that doesn't involve Palestinians being able or I should say right to return. The right to return to live inside of Israel, outside, along, not along the borders that were created in 1967, where there can be full integration. So I want,
It's so funny because it's they have to go with a one-state solution because they can't give the segregation argument any oxygen. We have to be for one state.
Right. Well, it's absurd because, as we talked about the other day, 20% of the population of Israel, that has all the same rights, there are non-Jewish citizens. They're Arab citizens. 20% of the population of Israel. Okay. So this idea that's oh my God, this right of return from 75 years ago. Yeah, Emma, if you lost your home, if your grandparents or their great-grandparents lost their home because of a literal war in 1948, I'm sorry, I think that the statute of limitations has expired on that, okay? I'm gonna be listen, I know you bought this home 3 years ago from some random guy who bought that home 10 years ago, but this person's great-grandfather maybe owned it and has a key that doesn't fit any lock that exists currently because the house was all demolished back then, and is claiming this property from 75 plus years ago. This is so stupid.
This is the ultimate goal of social justice. They want to write every injustice, not just in the world, but in history. It's like, it's such an impossible goal, but look,
Right.
they're insane.
Well, I wonder if part of it is it's like to set up an impossible ask because they know they'll never get it. So you can just be perpetually oppressed and perpetually, victimized and have motivation for your belief system, right?
No, I'm sure there's a lot of that going on as well.
Honestly, there needs to be progressives in Congress who begin to lead the conversation in this manner and talk about the Nakba. I would love to, if Biden does he even acknowledge it, I would love for there to be leaders in Congress who say, no, the two-state solution is just more racism.
I know it's not what Sam Cedar's thinking, but doesn't it look like he's looking at Emma saying, what is this dumb idiot saying? Like, that's what that expression does to me. Just like, what the fuck? Oh my God. We have to have a conversation in 2024 to solve the Israel-Palestine problem by talking about something that happened in 1948. That's real. We have to go back in time, and that's how we're going to solve this, right? That's the way to go forward, is to just go all the way back in time. I didn't know Emma was such a conservative, right? She's such a backwards thinking individual. It's very interesting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And just more segregation and apartheid.
Or to the extent that it's in play, you object to it every time. Like every time
well,
that brings it up.
That's what I was going to say. Even if we accept his logic, there's an easy way. Like, why does the birth of a Palestinian state, and I'm talking in the context of Joe Biden's sort of like professed desire, why does Israel get a veto over this? Like, if you want a two-state solution, Joe Biden, there is a very, very important step that you can take that would be probably as important as anything in terms of bringing it about, and that would be not to not to veto UN recognition of Palestinian statehood. I mean, and to imply or to even to argue that the UN, I hope people understand like the problem in saying like, well, the UN can't be in charge of creating.
Okay, so no, the problem here, this is so weirdly, badly, dishonestly framed. So the problem is, as you know, America and Israel and some of the Palestinians have been working on a two-state solution for decades, right? We've all heard Bill Clinton trying to do his thing, George W. Bush trying to do his thing, and just none of this stuff materializing. And it's because the reason that they don't want to just allow the UN to just say, boom, it's a state, is because Israel and America wants specific security guarantees and guarantees from, whoever's in charge of the Palestinian area before they agree to saying like, well, you're your own country that can control your own borders and you can import whatever goods and weapons you want into your country, right? Before you do that, we want to have certain like security guarantees, certain peace agreements, certain acknowledgments of Israel's right to exist, et cetera, et cetera. And they've never been able to come to any level of agreement on those topics.
Yeah, they want certain commitments before they lose all their leverage.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, even the Palestinians and Israelis have never been able to even agree on like what the border should look like. So this is just a really goofy thing.
Of course. Yeah, look, they're never going to agree.
Unfortunately, it looks like that's the case. Yeah. But I mean, Emma's going to get her one state solution. It's just not going to be the one she wants.
No, yeah, and she's going to get it by force.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but.
Yep.
A state.
Whoops.
I've got some very bad news for you.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
I have this fantasy in my head that I, for some reason, get to interview Joe Biden, and I basically ask him about the Nakba.
That is a weird fantasy.
It's a weird fantasy. Well, I'm a sicko, but I would love for someone to ask him this question. Like, President Biden, do you acknowledge how the state of Israel was formed? do you acknowledge the historical event of the Nakba? Because I'm seeing like
It's really complicated.
The Arab League told him to get out of there.
Really complicated.
So hit the road, Jack.
I'd be curious about how that question is answered, because I think that there is literal widespread atrocity denial around.
That's how it would be answered. It would be boilerplate, like there was a war. But also, he legit almost explicitly said, "I've got black faces in high places at Morehouse." Like he said, I got more diversity in high places than anywhere else. Like, yeah, man, that doesn't really matter. Karine Jean-Pierre can do genocide denial from the White House spokesperson platform as much as she wants. Like, that's actually not people's problem.
No. Actually, it's
there are conflicting sources on all this Nakba stuff. So I don't understand how people have such, such certainty that their version of events is the correct version and everybody else's version of events are completely incorrect.
Well, there's a very easy way to determine the truth here, Adam. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You say,
your gut.
you look around and you look at the Nakba and you say, okay, I see there's a lot of disagreement about exactly how this played out, right? Who's at fault? How many people left willingly? How many people were kicked out? How many people wanted to return? How many people were told not to return until the Jews were wiped out? Like, there's a lot of conflict here. So I can't make heads or tails about what is factually true from something that happened 76 years ago. So instead, I'm just going to point to the one that completely happens to just coincidentally line up perfectly with the worldview I want to be true and say that's the true one.
Yeah, it's just that's a completely kind of juvenile way to look at the world, right? Like, you'd want to have some humility. You'd want to say, look, maybe I'm not correct about this Nakba thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conflicting sources here.
Right.
Some say there was violence on one side. Some say there were violence on both sides. Some say they bought the land fair and square. Like, who knows what the truth is?
No, here's what the truth is. The truth is that the evil, white, Jewish colonizers came from Europe, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they started to land in Palestine.
Right.
And the Palestinians said, welcome, our human brethren. We welcome you with open arms. We love all people of all ethnic and religious backgrounds. And then the evil white European Jew said, be gone, non-whitey. We are a bunch of bigots, and we only like white people, and we only like white Jews. So be gone with you. We will wipe you from the land because we are evil. And then they picked up their guns that they were financed by the evil European slave trade, and they went ba 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 ba, and they ran all the innocent Palestinians off the land, and that's how Israel was formed.
Right. Yeah.
A true retelling.
I just hate this who started it game.
Well, it's completely pointless. It's so stupid. This happened 76 years ago. It's utterly pointless, okay? You have two options. You can either keep taking your children and sacrificing them for the blood feud of the past, or you can say, well, maybe I don't want to sacrifice myself and my children for the past sins of my fathers and their fathers. Maybe we've got to end the blood feud and move forward and actually care about building a better future for my children. Maybe that's the solution, right? Who gives a shit about what happened 76 years ago? That's not going to change. It doesn't matter.
That is the solution. That is 100% the solution.
Yep.
Even more perverse than that, because whether it's deploying a really cynical tactic, whether it's Linda I forget her full last name, Thomas Greenfield, the UN ambassador, he's actually deploying black faces to be at the front lines of his support for genocide, in the same way that, by the way, the Bush administration put Colin Powell out there to support the illegal invasion of Iraq. So it's just amazing to me that in 2024, after all of that, we have a Democratic president whose foreign policy is like extremely neocon oriented and is quite a backslide into what I thought that we had done away with after the disastrous Iraq War.
So he's basically Emma's basically saying that all of these black people that Biden has hired are just cover for his horrible foreign policy.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all it is.
All right.
That's why you can't win with these people. So
It's more trash. Hi, you just listened to a Sitch and Adam recorded video. That's right, we're still doing recorded videos. And of course, we're still doing our live streams. Our Sunday live stream begins at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And our daily live streams start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Come check it out. You're gonna love it. Subscribe to this channel right here to watch the live show or watch more of our awesome deep dive videos.